Organizations love to say they're data-driven. Lately, it's AI-driven. But let me ask you something. If two teams in the same company face the same situation, do they make the same decision for the same reasons? And do they learn from the outcome in a consistent way? Most of the time, the answer is no. And that's exactly where a decision intelligence operating model comes in. Today, we're unpacking what it is, why it matters, and how to build one that actually works across an enterprise, not just in a single team. Welcome back to the B.I channel, where data meets decisions. I'm your host, Soren Hale. Today's episode explores the decision intelligence operating model, the system that enables organizations to scale intelligence across teams, regions, and functions. Let's meet the panelists who will help translate this idea from buzzword to blueprint. Nakel Ethan Nakima is a BI strategist and the founder of the BI channel. Dr. Lian Zhou is an Asia-Pacific AI transformation expert. Maria Alvarez leads data governance efforts across LATAM. Jonas Richter brings the European compliance and data ethics lens. And Aidan Vox is our AI futurist and emerging tech analyst. Nakel, you've guided us through BI maturity and decision intelligence. Welcome back.
Thanks, Soren. This is the conversation where analytics stops being a side project and starts becoming the way the business runs.
Dr. Zhou, your APAC transformation work gives you a unique lens.
Happy to be here. A lot of organizations think they need better tools. Usually, they need better structure.
Maria, governance is your specialty.
Hi, Soren. And yes, I'll say it up front. If you want reliable decisions, governance can't be optional.
Jonas, you bring the ethical and regulatory perspective.
Great to join. If decision-making is being automated or accelerated, then responsibility needs to scale with it.
And Aidan, you always push us toward the future.
Let's do it. AI can look magical in demos, but the operating model is what makes it usable on a Tuesday afternoon when things are messy.
All right, let's set a baseline. When we say decision intelligence operating model, what are we actually talking about? Not a slogan, not a deck. What is it in plain language?
In plain language, it's the system behind how decisions get made in an organization. Who makes them, what data gets used, what analytics or AI supports them, how outcomes get measured, and how the whole thing improves over time. It's people, process, and technology, but tied specifically to decisions.
And I'd add consistency. Without an operating model, one region calls a customer active, another calls them active, with a completely different rule, and then leadership wonders why results don't match. The operating model creates shared logic so decisions aren't random depending on which team you asked.
It also acts like connective tissue between strategy and execution. Strategy says, we want to reduce churn, but execution needs to know, which decisions reduce churn, when do we make them, and what signal do we trust? The operating model makes that chain explicit and repeatable.
And it's where you build guardrails. Decisions aren't only about accuracy or speed. They can affect people's access to services, credit, employment, healthcare. So the operating model should include ethics, transparency, accountability, built into the workflow, not patched in later.
I think of it like the engine room, exactly. Everyone loves the dashboard on a bridge, but below deck you need plumbing, fuel lines, safety checks, maintenance schedules. Otherwise the ship doesn't move, or worse, it moves in the wrong direction.
That engine room metaphor is going to stick. So if we accept it's a system, what's in the system? Let's break it down into components leaders can actually recognize and build.
Component 1 is decision architecture. It sounds fancy, but it's basically a map. What are the critical decisions, who owns them, what inputs they need, what good looks like, and how often they happen. If you can't name the decisions that drive performance, you can't scale intelligence.
Component 2 is the data and governance layer. That includes definitions, ownership, quality standards, access controls, and the boring-sounding stuff like a KPI dictionary. But it's not boring when you're in a meeting where 5 people argue for 30 minutes about what revenue means.
Third is the analytics and AI layer. This is where you put models, forecasting, optimization, decision support systems, even co-pilots, anything that helps humans or systems evaluate options and choose actions. The key is it serves a decision, not just a metric.
Fourth is the ethical and risk framework. That includes bias and fairness checks, explainability expectations, auditability, privacy requirements, and clear accountability. If something goes wrong, you should be able to trace what happened and why, not shrug and say, the model decided.
And fifth is workflow integration. If your intelligence lives in a dashboard that nobody opens, it's basically decorative. The insight has to show up where work happens, in the CRM, in the ticketing system, in approvals, in supply chain tooling, right there at decision time.
So decision architecture, data and governance, analytics and AI, ethics and risk, and workflow integration. Together, that's what makes it an operating model, not just a collection of tools. Now let's talk about the pain. What happens when organizations skip the operating model and just rush into dashboards and AI pilots?
You get inconsistency. A sales team makes one call, a customer success team makes another, finance has a third view, and nobody can reconcile the outcomes. Decisions become opinion-driven again because the evidence chain isn't trusted.
And you get endless debates. Not debates about the decision, but debates about the inputs. Is this the right number? Which table did you use? Is this data fresh? That's not decision-making, that's organizational friction.
In transformation programs, the biggest failure mode I see is adoption. Teams build sophisticated AI and then it sits unused because it doesn't match how people actually work, or it's not connected to a real decision owner. The model performs, but the business doesn't change.
And there's hidden risk. When you operate without a clear framework, you can accidentally automate unfairness, violate privacy obligations, or fail to meet transparency requirements. Then you're reacting to a regulator, a customer complaint, or a reputational crisis, when you could have prevented it.
Also, innovation ends up trapped in pockets. One team has an amazing predictive model, another team has a neat chatbot, and it never becomes a company capability. So you get impressive demos but no compounding advantage.
So the big theme is, without an operating model, intelligence doesn't scale, and impact stays local. Let's zoom out globally for a second. Each of you sees this from a different region. How do priorities change depending on where an organization is operating?
In APAC, there's often a strong push for speed, deploy quickly, integrate deeply, show results. Organizations want intelligence embedded into operations fast. The risk is moving so quickly that governance and change management struggle to keep up, so the operating model becomes essential to sustain momentum.
In LATAM, alignment is a major theme. Many organizations are coordinating across markets with different data maturity levels. Governance becomes the common language. If you can align definitions and ownership, you can unlock scale without chaos.
In Europe, compliance and ethics are front and center. It's not resistance to innovation, it's that innovation needs to be defensible. The operating model has to prove responsibility, documentation, audit trails, and clarity on accountability.
In North America, I see a lot of experimentation. Lots of pilots, lots of vendors. The opportunity is huge, but the operating model is what turns a portfolio of experiments into a platform that delivers repeatable value.
And across many African contexts, the conversation can be about leapfrogging, going mobile first, cloud first, and skipping heavy legacy systems. That can be a massive advantage if you pair it with a clear decision operating model, because you can design for modern workflows from the start.
I like that. Different priorities, same need for structure. Let's make this practical. If a leader is listening and thinking, okay, we don't have this, how do they begin without turning it into a 2-year program that never ships?
Start with a decision audit, not a data audit, decision audit. Identify the decisions that matter most to outcomes. Pricing, hiring, prioritization, fraud review, delivery routing, churn saves, whatever it is. Then document how they're made today and where the gaps are.
Then you need a shared measurement and definition layer. A KPI dictionary sounds small, but it's foundational. If teams can't agree on definitions, they can't align actions. Pick the most business-critical metrics and standardize them first.
And establish ethical guidelines early, not after you deploy. Decide what acceptable looks like, what needs explainability, what needs human review, what data is off limits, how you handle appeals or exceptions. Put it into the process so it's automatic.
From the AI side, choose use cases that support real decision points. If the organization has a churn issue, don't build a generic chatbot because it's trendy. Build decision support that helps teams decide which customers to prioritize, what offer to make, and when to intervene.
And integrate it into workflows right away. Even if it's simple at first, like recommendations inside a tool people already use. The fastest way to kill an initiative is to make users switch context and go find the insight. Bring the insight to them.
So, decision audit, shared definitions, ethics early, decision-linked AI use cases, and workflow integration. That's a roadmap you can actually start next week. Before we wrap, I want a quick final pass from each of you. If you had to summarize the whole idea in one line for an executive who's skeptical, what would you say?
If you want better results, don't just collect more data. Build a repeatable system for making and improving decisions.
Transformation succeeds when structure meets speed, an operating model turns AI into execution.
Without governance, you don't have one organization making decisions, you have many, and they're not aligned.
Responsible intelligence isn't a feature, it's a design choice you bake into decision workflows.
The operating model is what makes AI real, embedded, adopted, and scalable beyond the demo.
That's the episode. Decision intelligence isn't just having models or dashboards. It's having a structure that defines how decisions are made, supported, measured, and improved across teams, functions, and regions. When you build that structure, you unlock consistency, scale, and a real competitive edge. Huge thanks to NACL, Dr. Lien Zhou, Maria Alvarez, Jonas Richter, and Aidan Vox for bringing the global perspective. Join us next time on the BI channel, where data meets decisions.